You are the leading lady of your life, right? And so, in essence, you are the table. We're not bringing ourselves to the table. We are the table. And we have to make sure that that table is full, that that table has everything it needs so that it can pour out instead of us trying to scrimp and scrape. We're giving and we're giving out of this depletion. And I want us
Mhm.
to give out of abundance.
Because I know when I went through my burnout crisis and I hit the wall and I decided, okay, I must practice radical selfishness because I was giving and giving and giving. I was kaput. There was nothing left to give.
But I like to call it now is it was a forced pause. This was a forced pause for me. And during that time period, I really felt like I was hearing from my spirit, hey, you cannot keep living like this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Self-Care Oasis Podcast. Your host here, Samantha Gregory. I'm the Self-Care Alchemist, and I help women transform burnout into better boundaries, more balance, and shameless bliss so they can live the life that they love and they deserve through self-devotion lifestyle. I do this through Self-Care Oasis newsletter, the podcast, of course, and through one-on-one coaching and mentoring.
Yeah.
Today we have Dr. Nicole Patiller. She is a therapist and she has a lot to share with us today. Welcome, Dr. Nicole. Thank you so much for being on the Self-Care Oasis podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
You're welcome. I've been having such amazing guests on this show, and they have run the gamut. We've been talking about being a health advocate. We've been talking about eldest daughter. We've been talking about burnout. We've been talking about a lot of different things. This is really about helping women, especially Black women, get to the place where they are grounded in themselves and they can create a environment where self-care is the norm. It's not a outlier. It's not something you try to extract from an external source, but it's something that comes from within. And so I'm really excited about having these conversations and hearing the philosophies, hearing the experiences, hearing about how providers and therapists and coaches and consultants like you, Dr. Nicole, help Black women come into the space where they are grounded in their own, and not just grounded, but advocates for their own self-care and their emotional well-being. But before we do that, tell us first who you are, your specialty, and the solutions you're bringing into this conversation about burnout, recovery, prevention, and self-care.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Nicole. My clients call me Dr. Nick. So, Dr. Nick, yeah. Dr. Nick, I am really a mental health coach. And what I do, I call myself the wholeness advocate, the wholeness
Mm,
advocate. And it's because I believe that there are many pieces of us, and oftentimes we come into spaces and we have to, or feel we have to, ignore pieces of us, ignore or hide, or whatever the case is. And so I really try to bring healing perspectives that allow us to honor and center our whole being, spirit, mind, body, plus our relationships, plus our environment, all of the things that make up who we are. My doctorate is funny because people are always like, what is your doctorate in? And it has nothing to do with counseling, mental health, or anything of that nature. I do have a master's in counseling, but my doctorate is in strategic leadership foresight. And the way that I marry those two together is I like to let women know, encourage women, you are a leader. You are a
mm.
leader. You are doing self-leadership. So when you center yourself and when you prioritize your wholeness and prioritize your wellness, you are leading yourself well. It's good stewardship. And so I bring in leadership principles into how we take care of ourselves, how we honor ourselves, how we center ourselves.
I love that. I really love that because women are really natural leaders anyway. We are
Absolutely.
leaders in the home, in motherhood, often on the job or whatever career we're in, and sometimes in our friendships. And so leadership is such a natural part of who we are. But so many of us fail leading ourselves into the space where we put ourselves at the top of the list and act like the leader in our lives. So, talk more about even how that looks. Like, how do you self lead so that you prioritize and ground yourself in your own care?
You said something about leading as we bring ourselves to the table. I feel like a lot of times we do not bring ourselves to the table, right? We are out here nurturing, serving, caring for everyone else and making sure everybody's good. Sometimes it could be strangers that we are caring for so much better than we're caring for ourselves. And so for me, it's like we don't act like we're the leading ladies of our lives.
Hmm.
You are the leading lady of your life, right? And so, in essence, you are the table. We're not bringing ourselves to the table. We are the table. And we have to make sure that that table is full, that that table has everything it needs so that it can pour out instead of us trying to scrimp and scrape. We're giving and we're giving out of this depletion. And I want us
Hmm.
to give out of abundance. It's not about, oh, I can't help these people. I can't do this because I'm caring for myself. No, no, no. You are caring for yourself and building yourself up so that you're giving out of wholeness. You're giving out of abundance. And instead of from these dry, broken, empty places.
You are speaking my language because my metaphor is a cup. You're filling your cup until it overflows and you giving from the overflow. And you can't do that if you're constantly in a state of depletion. If you're down at the bottom of the cup or your table is just got the bare bones basics, you need to give yourself more and more and more every day. But I think what I'm running into, and you may see this as well, is women run up against a wall of guilt and shame for putting themselves first and
Mhm.
putting their needs before their children, before their partner, before their parents, before the church or whomever. All these places that extract from us every day. And it's like, how do you I'm having conversations about how do you get past, not just how do you get through and allow yourself to have more without shame and guilt.
It's a huge thing. I think that's one of the first things that people say to me
Mhm.
every time we start having this conversation in a coaching relationship. Oh, I can't. Oh, I feel guilty. And one thing that I started saying to mothers in particular, this applies to everybody, but specifically to mothers, when I think about the children in my life, the young people in my life, I'm not a mother, I'm an
Mhm.
auntie. I'm an
Mhm.
auntie, I'm a mentor, I'm a godmom. When I think of all of the young people in my life, what I want for them is I want for them to be aligned in their lives. I want for them to understand who they are. I want for them to understand their worth and their value. Now, the best way that I can exemplify that for them is doing that in my own life. So I
Right.
try to help moms understand that not only is turning your focus to yourself a gift to yourself because you need to, you need that. You need, or else you're going to deplete yourself. It is actually an educational tool of bringing the young people in your life into this type of practice. So
Hmm.
it's really important that moms in particular come to this from that lens because you don't want your daughters repeating what you do if it is looking like I'm broken, I'm worn out, I'm this, I'm that. And some of it can come with explanation. Hey, we can't do this today because mom feels this. I'm
Hmm.
feeling that because that's teaching them to connect with where they're at and what they might need at any given point in time. We're giving them the example and the language of how to focus on their well-being.
Right. Absolutely. Sure. For sure. Because I know when I went through my burnout crisis and I hit the wall and I decided, okay, I must practice radical selfishness because I was giving and giving and giving. I was kaput. There was nothing left to give. And so when I started my self-care practices, one of the things I would do, and I recognize as a working mother,
Mhm.
being responsible, because I was a single mother at the time, being responsible for everything. I would come home, I would, leave work, pick up the kids, and that first thing is everybody's hungry, they're tired, we got homework, but I made a conscious effort to take 10 minutes when
Mhm,
we got home.
mhm,
And I made sure they had a snack and that they were good. And I told them, look, I'm going to my room and I will lay down for 10 minutes. And I don't want anyone knocking on my door. I need 10 minutes of alone time. And when I'm done, I will come out, I will cook dinner, and we would finish the rest of our evening.
mhm.
And for me, that was the reset I needed in order to be able to continue through the rest of the evening on second shift, because mothers have this second shift life. And teaching my kids that you can take downtime, you can take quiet time. You don't have to always be on and doing things and bowling through life without a pause. And so now my kids, they love their alone time. They're adults now, but they have to have their alone time. They have to have their decompression time. And I think that's just so important to teach mothers. It's important for women in general. If you have a lot of responsibilities and roles that you're playing, then you must build in these different practices that
Abs-
is easy to do, and by informing people in your life, this is what's going to happen, instead of I'm just gonna, try to steal a few. Don't steal nothing. Just plan it.
Right. Right. And you said, one thing you said about the length of time, the 10 minutes. I
Mhm.
think that's important to highlight as well because so many times when I tell people, oh, pause is my you said pause.
Yes.
That is my thing. I'm always talking about power pause moments. Pause, you have to pause. And I think sometimes people think that means you have to have this long, sit down, an hour,
Right.
journal, write everything out.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, you can do that, but what can you do sustainably
Yes.
on a daily basis that can provide you with a little reprieve? Like,
Hmm.
can you create these margins in your life? And you, in the 10 minutes, you were creating that margin for yourself,
Right.
right?
Right.
And it's so important. I think sometimes people think that those small margins are not going to make a difference.
Hmm.
And so they're like,
Hmm.
I can't do, if I can't do the big hour-long journal session or go for an hour and a half hike out somewhere
Hmm.
or whatever in their mind it looks like to have this pause or this break, then they feel like there's nothing they can do because they don't have
Right.
it. When we start implementing these, I mean, we do these power breath moments. It can only
Hmm.
be 1 minute. That can shift so much of how your brain is functioning, how you're able to receive information, how you're able to interact with other people, because it's giving yourself that space rest that needs, even if it's just for a moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, like you said, sustainable activities and practices that move you through the day, so you're not on edge all the time and you're not feeling like your energy is being drained more and more and more throughout the day. And then you barely get it replenished during the night, especially if you're hormonal or your hormones are imbalanced, like a lot of women our age are. And so I think that bringing sustainable self-care practices, is what I like to call them, to the forefront, so people can feel empowered by the incremental small moments and
Mhm.
pauses, like you just said. But
Mhm.
it's about giving yourself the permission to do it, allowing yourself to do it, and seeing that it's not an all or nothing kind
Yes.
of experience. And I think this all or nothing is because we have been pushed by productivity, by all the things that grab at our attention. And it feels like again, it's an all or nothing. Either I'm doing it or I can't do it because it's too big, like to say, too big of an elephant for me to,
Hmm.
to engulf at one time. When it's just like one bite at a time, babe, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay,
One bite.
So, what else are solutions are you sharing with your clients, audiences, that will help them come to this space of groundedness and allowing and giving themselves permission to practice holistic wellness?
So, holistic wellness, it's spirit, mind, body, right? And
Mhm.
I I'm also an artist, and so I really believe in the power of creative practices. So,
Mhm.
whether that be doodling, drawing, painting, music, there's even plants. I'm a plant mom also. So I have something for every, like your spirit, we do pause sessions. That's what I call them, pause sessions. I'm actually getting ready to start doing them locally so we can come together and we can be at the lake or at the waterfall,
Mhm.
and we can come together and we can actually have these moments of silence, these moments where we're observing nature, where we're, moving our body a little bit, where we're deep breathing. I also do them virtually. So that's the pause session. And that's where we really get into tapping into gratitude, your spirit, really getting in and connecting, um, not only internally, but vertically as well.
Mhm.
I was in, Samantha, I was in a very bad car accident.
Mhm.
And it was back in 2019. And this is actually where the message of pausing was birthed for me. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, the name that I put on it is like my power pauses and all of that. That it came out of the accident. And when I was in that accident, I was working as an in-home family-based therapist at the time, and that meant that I was traveling to different
Mhm.
people's homes constantly and doing sessions in the community and, just very busy. And I was running myself ragged. I was also a full-time doctoral student at the time, full-time therapist. I mean, I wasn't eating right. I wasn't moving my body. I wasn't sleeping correctly. It was just it was the patterns that I was living in at that time were just so unhealthy.
Mhm.
I wasn't driving, but I was in a car and we literally ran into a brick wall. Like we literally hit a house
Mercy.
head on. And it was horrible. And we were working. I was with my therapy partner. We had teenagers in the back. It was one of those moments where it was like really a wake up call. And
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone else has ever been in a car accident, but sometimes you don't realize how injured you are in
Mhm.
the moment, right? And
Mhm.
so the adrenaline was running. I'm trying to make sure the kids are okay. I'm not really feeling pain or anything like that. I was on the job, so we had made sure we went to the hospital, and I would say within a week, I was in so much pain. I couldn't move. It was horrible. And in that time period where I was just kind of almost paralyzed,
Mhm.
I it just everything hurt me. I even had to cut my locks because I didn't want anything touching me. Like it was so much pain. But I like to call it now is it was a forced pause. This was a
Yeah.
forced pause for me. And during that time period, I really felt like I was hearing from my spirit, hey, you cannot keep living like this. You cannot
Mhm.
keep up these patterns, yet everything you're doing may be good. It's not that you're doing things that are wrong or bad, but you're
Right.
doing them in a way that is not aligned with who
Mhm.
I've created you to be, right?
Right.
You're
Yes.
you're you're neglecting the very essence of who you are and who you were created to be. And so I had to sit with that. In the midst of all of that, I was working for a company. They were not concerned about my well-being. They just
Mhm.
wanted the output, you
Of
know.
course.
They wanted the output. You got to do these sessions, you got to do this. And I was like, you know what? My wellness is a priority. I'm
Right.
not going to kill myself building someone else's vision. Okay.
Mhm.
I am not going to kill myself, wear myself out. Did I love my work? Yes. Was I doing good work? Yes. But you don't even care that I'm in such pain.
Mhm.
And so that's when I realized I have to be, like we talked about before, I have to be the leader. I have to lead my wellness. I have to be
Mhm.
the leading lady of my life that takes care of me. And
Absolutely.
this is the way I'm going to do it. And I actually quit my job. That may not be everybody's answer, and I understand that, but I quit my job because I was like, mm-mm,
Hmm.
you're not going to kill me. I'm not going to allow you to kill me. No.
That part.
Right? I'll allow you to kill me. And in that time of quiet and healing of my body, that was 2019. As we're leading into 2020, everybody knows what happened in 2020. So
Mm,
it was an extended pause for me. And I had a lot of time to really sit and cultivate this, what I'm saying to you today, and get it deep down in my spirit so that I could share it with other people. Like, sis, you don't have to do this. There are other answers. There are other ways. There are solutions to the problem that you are facing, right?
hmm
And the other thing it taught me was that my job was not my source.
hmm
So I knew that, but sometimes life happens and we get caught up in our patterns. And so I had to, it's almost like that forced pause, that accident had to bring me back to the foundation of what I already knew.
hmm
And bring that out in such a way that this becomes how you live.
hmm
A
hmm
pause came, and it's like, yeah, I have to, I call them redemptive rhythms of pause.
Okay.
So I had to start developing my own redemptive rhythms of pause and what that looks
Hmm.
like. And some of them are short, like yours, the 10-minute, some of them
Hmm.
are that. Some of them are longer, but
Hmm.
whatever it looks like, you got to have it. You
Yeah.
got to figure out what it looks like for you and develop your redemptive rhythm of pause.
Mm. Thank
Hmm.
you so much for sharing your story. I mean, I totally understand. I've been in a few accidents, and so I understand that delayed pain response that comes after everything is kind of calmed down and you were like paralyzed with pain at that point. And then the wake up calls like, healer, heal thyself, therapist, take
Yeah.
care of yourself, and how it's so easy to be so caught up in the caring for others, like we mentioned at the top of the show, that it becomes you're blinded to your own needs.
Yes.
And because you're so engulfed in taking care of and seeing other people's needs as more important than your own. And I don't think it's oh, everybody else is more important or it's like in a low self-esteem way. I think it's just that progressive neglect that happens because you become so involved in other people's lives and what they need and meeting the metrics, especially for the job. You got these metrics that you need to meet and them not caring about anything other than the metrics. The profits over people conversation comes into play at that time. And so I totally get you quitting. I did the
Yeah.
same thing for when I needed to. I took career pauses. I quit. I did several things just to kind of get myself back into equilibrium. But becoming the leading lady of your life, I love that term. It just sounds so luxurious and it feels so empowering. And I just really love that main character energy or
Yes.
whatever, however you want to phrase it. But I think that Black women specifically must become the leading lady. They must become, embody the main character energy. And I'm calling it also your villain era because people are going to be mad because you're no longer placing others in front of you. Oh,
Ab- Absolutely. Yes. Because your healing requires them to potentially lose something. Right.
absolutely. And also the part where you mentioned that you just weren't going to allow them to kill you. That's the exact same words that I used when I was, going into my radical selfishness and self-care phase. It was like, these people are not going to kill me. And that's when I started to create my stress elimination list. And that includes people, circumstances, anything that caused me stress. I'm
Yeah.
like, you gotta go,
Yeah.
especially the deliberate type of stress, like, no, you got to go. And that again put me in the villain era. And
The villain.
yeah,
Love
it,
it.
and
Yes.
it's like embracing that is
Hmm.
so important and being willing to be that. So for your own care, for your own benefit, above others, which again is hard for a lot of us. It's because
It
we've
is.
been trained and programmed and conditioned that we are always to be giving, especially when you get into the mother role or if you're in the eldest daughter role. It's like everything in your life revolves around everyone else.
Mhm.
And it's like you're not allowed to feel or need care or wants or need support because you are the support, you know.
You are the support. I am
Mhm.
the eldest. Um,
Okay.
and the other role that I think about in connection to what you were just saying is the spiritual role. Like when you're in a church community, because I'm a PK, and
Mm.
I listen,
Yeah.
it's a thing, because as you were saying, we get trained to be nice.
Hmm.
And take care of them, make sure everybody's okay. Oh, don't be angry. All the things that we get fed. And as you were talking, I was just thinking about how that has shaped my life. And sometimes I forget that there have been these messages for so long.
Hmm.
And I especially Black women, Black church community. I know it's everywhere, but I'm just saying in it Black,
Yes. Yes.
it is real. And we really have to begin to take care of ourselves because that's not even the example of Jesus's life. Like if you're from that lens, if you're
Hmm.
from that spiritual lens, that he took care of himself. He stepped
Hmm.
away. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He knew when to speak, when to
Mm.
not speak, when to reach out, when to not reach out, and I think about that and how we, in the name of service, we just give and give and give,
Right.
keep on and keep
Right.
on and keep on. And, then we find ourselves in these broken places and
Hmm.
depleted places where it's like, I don't even know how I got here. I don't even know who I am anymore, what I want. Like a lot of women, they struggle to even tell me what brings them joy. I'm like, you don't
Right.
know what brings you joy? Honey,
Right.
we gotta
Hmm.
fix that. You gotta nurture yourself. I say
Hmm.
I'm getting ready to start a journal brand. I'm so excited about it. It's
Okay.
called Wholeness Within. And I always
Hmm.
say at the end of my podcast, nurture the wholeness within. That's like
Hmm.
the last words I speak on my podcast every time because I want to remind you have to nurture the wholeness within you. Nobody else is going to do it.
I'm really stuck on the identity piece because I think I know for myself, I was so steeped in other people's business and other people's needs and other people's happiness that I lost myself. I did not know who I was. I did not know what I wanted because I had been people have projected their own ideas about who I should be the nice person, be the this, be the that, and how it was, I don't say emotionally beat out of me
Yeah.
to be myself. And when I finally took that step back and began to try to identify myself, like, who am I? Is this really me or is this what people have said that I am? Is this who I want to be? Is this what I even like? I don't know. All the conditioning and the programming has been so deeply ingrained since childhood that it's like, okay, now I'm in the space where I'm discovering and rediscovering who I am. I'm remembering who I am because when you have been in these different roles for so long, you identify with a role and not with your true self. And I think as women specifically are labeled so many ways and we believe the narrative that other people have created for us, and it's time for us to throw that book out and
Uh,
start writing your new narrative, like who you truly are, and go through your discovery reclamation process. And I think this is part of
mhm.
radical self-care and what I call self-devotion. Because if you don't know who you are, people can tell you all day long, well, you're this and you're that, and this is where you belong, and this is what you should be doing. But when you know yourself, it's like, okay, nobody can take your identity from you anymore because you're grounded in it and you won't allow anyone to redefine you again. So I think that's a part of the process of reclaiming your identity and getting out of that space and leading yourself out of that space of, well, I'm only useful for everyone else's needs. I'm only here to fulfill their dreams, their goals, their basic needs every single day. And now it's time for me to just step back from that and just reclaim who I am.
So critical. It's so important. And all of us were created with such beautiful purpose, right? And we
Hmm.
all are so valuable. We're so worthy. And I think the thing that just wells up inside of me is wanting to help people see that, help
Hmm.
people see themselves through the lens of worthiness, you
Yes.
know, through the lens of worthiness. It starts with what you're saying, reclaiming your identity,
Hmm.
understanding who you are, allowing yourself to be with yourself so that you can get to know yourself again.
Hmm.
Because so many times life causes us to lose who we are.
I think that as we are redefining what it looks like or what it means to be women, whole women, it is definitely is going to take a lot of practice. It's going to take a lot of reshuffling and renegotiating contracts with different people and with ourselves.
So, yes.
So I'm excited about how things are changing and the new narratives that we're creating for ourselves. And I think even part of that is when I mentioned before, rejecting the narratives that people have said that we are, especially the strong Black woman narrative. I have decided that is not my label. That's not who I am. It's not my life is not about a strong yet struggling Black woman who is the backbone of every community out there,
Right.
you know?
I mean, we deserve softness,
Hmm.
deserve lightness, right? It's not about earning. We don't have to earn these things.
Oh no.
These things are ours
Hmm.
because we exist. You can have a soft life because you
Hmm.
exist. You know,
Absolutely.
you don't have to earn that, but
Hmm.
you do have to responsibly take hold of it,
Yes.
right? And that's that whole I'm the leading lady of my life. Because
Hmm.
you get to, like you said, I've decided this is not my identity anymore. And whatever you want your identity to be, you name it and then you go after it. Like what,
Hmm.
how can you take the steps? And I think it's important we talked about it a little bit earlier when we were talking about the 10-minute, the pause, like the little
Hmm.
steps. I think it's important when you have this vision of this new identity after you've done all the things and you're like, yes, this is what brings me joy. This is what I want to be. This is how I want to flow and move. Then sometimes it can become overwhelming because you're like, I'm nowhere near that. And I'm always like, what's your next best move?
Yeah.
What's the next best choice that you can make? What's
Mhm.
the next best step toward that you can make? Because you don't have to overhaul your life overnight, you know?
Right.
You don't have
Yes.
to do that. You just have to start taking those steps.
Absolutely. I think that's a key point to remember and to continue to reiterate for women because we want to take these big leaps because we have spent so much of our lives and we're desperate for a softer existence, a way of life that doesn't extract from us continuously. And we just want to plug the leaks or stop the bleed,
Yeah.
kind of the
Hmm.
same thing. But it didn't take one day to get to this point. It was, incremental years of experiencing the same thing, living the same life over and over and over again. So it's going to take time to get to the place where now it's you don't default to self-sacrifice, you default to self-care. And that becomes the lifestyle that you live because literally living a self-sacrifice lifestyle because that's what we've been taught, what makes us acceptable, what makes us lovable, what makes us validated. Though that is what we have been rewarded for. And so in order to not get that reward or dopamine hit for giving yourself away, you got to learn, you got to retool it, you got to reprogram it and deconstruct from the idea that self-sacrifice is the way to go and that this is where the reward system lies. We have to create our own reward system for self-devotion, for self-care, and look at it as the best gift you can give yourself. I think two things that I've been having conversations with women like us about is Black women specifically don't feel safe. It feels
Mm,
safe to self-sacrifice because that's what we've been rewarded for. And we don't self-trust. We don't trust ourselves because everyone has been telling us, well, this is the right thing to do. This is where how you should behave. This is what will get you the money. This is what will get you the love. This is what get you all the things that everybody, every human desires.
mm.
This is how you get it through self-sacrifice. But that's not true. We have to debunk that and begin to create safe spaces for ourselves and learn to trust ourselves that, yeah, there's a different way and there's a different operating system you can live under now
Mm.
instead of the old, outdated, destructive,
Yeah.
system that you've been living under.
Absolutely. I love it because I feel like everything that you're saying, I'm like, are we friends in another time that
Right.
I love when that happens though, because it's alignment, it's
Mhm.
confirmation, it's all the things, you have your own language or your own words, but it's the same language, it's the same
Yes.
flow. And I think that's beautiful. And I hope that to the people that are listening, that they can recognize that and like, oh yeah, because honestly, this is the first time we've spoken, but it feels like we've spoken many times before.
That part, which again speaks to the alignment and why there's people who think the same begin to gravitate towards each other. And I think it's important to get in circles with women who are speaking your language. And if you wanted to change the language, then you must get into the groups and the spaces where women are talking about or introducing you to this new language. And I think a lot of people are being introduced to this and the idea that you don't have to remain in the old system. You don't have to remain in that space where you're constantly being extracted from, your energy is leaking, and you are on the brink of or in full burnout mode. And when you get in these spaces, then you're able to pick up the practices that keep you, or at least help you through the recovery process, help you to create a new sustainable structure and lifestyle where you're not being constantly extracted from, where your boundaries are naturally there, where you can say, this doesn't work for me, and I'm going to go over here and do that. This takes too much out of me. I'm glad that we are able to have this conversation and that we can open the door, open the conversation, give people new language to be able to aspire to so that they're not feeling like they're all, and that's one thing I wanted to share too. It's like sometimes the people we're around are also in that burnout zone or that self-sacrifice place and it's normalized. And so when you are in a space or a lifestyle that's normalized, that extracts from you, it's like, okay, well, why should I change it? I'm good. I'm strong. I'm resilient. All the words
Yeah,
that, we use to justify being in this depleted space. So, that you may have to leave some people, and that's hard,
that
you
is
know.
hard. It is
So
hard.
talk about that real quick, and then we're gonna find out where we can find you online and what you're offering to our listeners.
Yeah, yes, it is. Putting boundaries in place can be extremely difficult. And I think, like, for me, this is probably a podcast for another day, but
Love it.
but I, as particularly Black women, I feel our relationships are so layered. And depending on the circles that you move in and how you've grown up and everything, there can be some interesting dynamics in Black female relationships, right?
Mhm.
And so when you start to come out of some of the environments or thinking that has been, as you said, familiar, has been normalized in your friend groups, you start to get the looks, right?
Mhm.
Oh, you think you're better than us? Oh, you think
Mhm.
that, oh, you think, and it can be really difficult because you now feel like you're truly alone, right?
Yes.
Because you're coming out of something and they may not be in the place. or ready to come out with you. And so, like, as you said, you have to leave that. And I think that's why it's so important. You talked about getting in this community, the space
Hmm.
people are speaking the language where you want to go. Even if you haven't reached there yet, they're
Yeah.
speaking where you want to go because um, it's almost like a baby, especially the
Mhm.
preemies. They need to be in the little incubator so that they can grow and get to the stage where they can then be sustained on their own without the oxygen or the lights or whatever. And that's us when we are changing our lens and we are changing our perspective and we're trying to move into these, at your word, your self-devotion era, or you're trying to become the leading lady of your life. You need to be around other people who are doing the same.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it can be easy to get drawn back in, or you might be so hurt by the loss of connection that you just go back.
Yeah.
And it's not because you don't believe the message or you don't want the message, but it's too,
Mhm.
and that's why it's important to have these conversations. It's important for us to build community and to really be bold, be brave, come out and step into the new.
And that's why I'm building the Black Women's Wellness Rolodex, where you can find more community, you can find providers of women, Black women, for Black women who can guide you through, especially if you are coming out of burnout or if you're on the brink of burnout, if you're in recovery from chronic self-sacrifice. These are the people, these are the women who understand where you are and what you're dealing with from a cultural perspective, from a familial perspective. And so this Black Women's Wellness Rolodex is coming soon. It's going to be available. Dr. Nick is going to be in it as well. Me, I'm in it, and so many other wonderful Black women who I have been in conversation and community with. I'm really excited to share that with you all. There's a Black Women's Self-Care Bundle that's also launching in July. And so I want you all to keep that in mind as well so that you can get these resources created by Black women for Black women to add to your resources so that you can get new language, you can get into communities so that you can begin to care for yourself in a sustainable way. I'm so excited. I'm partnering with Dr. Tiffany Mims to do that. And so there's so much on the horizon for Black women who are looking to put themselves first, who are looking to rebuild their table, as Dr. Nick says, fill their cup, and do whatever it takes in order to come out of self-sacrifice into self-care and self-devotion and get the whole wellness that you deserve. And I'm so excited and so thankful for this conversation, Dr. Nick. So tell us where we can find you online. I know you have a Substack, so I'm excited about that. But where else can we find you? And tell us more about your journal.
My Substack is called The Pause for solos because I
Mhm.
speak specifically to women solopreneurs. So The Pause for solos. And you can find me on Threads and Instagram at that same handle, The Pause for solos. I also have a website, which is just my first and last name, NicolePatiller.com. So you can read up a little bit more about what we have going on there. All the information about the journal brand is on the website. Let me tell you about the journal. The initial journal that's coming out is called Girl Pause. Stop
Mm,
dreaming and start doing. And it is to encourage you, to push you to focus on your own dreams and your own vision. The vision for the journal came because I just lost a friend recently.
mm,
And I was remembering, as I was grieving her, I was remembering all the dreams she told me that were not able to manifest. And I was like,
mm,
I'm so sorry that she didn't get to do that, that she didn't get
mm.
to do all these big dreams in her heart. And part of it was because she was a major self-sacrificer, right? She was looking after everybody,
Yeah.
she was concerned about everybody else.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
these dreams in her heart have gone with her. And
Yeah.
so that's where the journal comes from, is my heart and my passion to have other women be able to really turn some attention to their own dreams and their own goals and to go after it.
So go to Dr. Nick's website and get information and pick up your own journal. Follow, connect with her on Substack, which is one of my favorite places. You can find Self-Care Oasis newsletter on Substack. Thank you, Dr. Nick, for being here, for adding your voice to the conversation about women and Black women, specifically self-care, and transforming all the burnout into better boundaries, balance, and shameless bliss. Because we need these conversations. And I think we not just need the conversations, we need repeated conversations about this topic so that we can become our own leading lady, lead ourselves into this space of self-care and wholeness and wellness. So thank you again for being here. I appreciate you so much.
Having me. It's been my pleasure.
And thank you all for listening to this episode of Self-Care Oasis Podcast. I hope that you'll connect with us. The links will be in the description below. And look for the Black Women's Wellness Rolodex and the Black Women's Self-Care Bundle coming soon. And for the rest of the week, the rest of your day, whatever it is you're doing, have a wonderful day. And we'll see you again next time. Take care.